somebody was posting something about the Abe Vigoda, like Abe Vigoda appreciation tweet, and I had to look this up, but I remembered. So I saw him in the play Arsenic and Old Lace on Broadway in the '80s because I looked it up. I'm like, did I actually, was he in that? And I saw him, and yeah, it was in New York on Broadway, like 1986, 1987, and my family went on a trip to New York then. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I saw him in person doing that. But then I was disappointed because, I mean, he was fine. He was, I think of the original cast, he was the most famous. And then they had like a few replacements as the show went on. But his character, he was originally played by Boris Karloff earlier. And there were actually a couple jokes in the play about him looking like Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
But he was actually replaced at some point by Jonathan Frid, who was the original Barnabas Collins. And I wish I would have seen him. That would have been cool.
I
wasn't that familiar with him at the time, but
Abe Vigoda was my father's tailor shop was in Midtown Manhattan, and it was nearby this because it's the garment center and in the garment district, not the center. It's the garment district. So back in the 1980s, before we signed these insane free trade agreements with China, a lot of there's a documentary you should watch on HBO called the Schmata business. It's a Yiddish word that means rags. But 90% of America's clothing was produced in New York City, which is it's mind-boggling. But I remember that as a kid in the 1980s, and I saw Abe Vigoda a lot because there was a very famous Jewish restaurant, and he was always seated by the window. I think they got him to sit by the window so they could get and they gave him they wouldn't charge him for food or something, not because he was
like an advertisement.
Yeah, not because he was destitute or anything. This was a story I made up in my head because why would they put him in the window all the time? I mean, literally months and months and months he would be at the window, and I didn't know him from any. Look, in the '80s I was a teenager, and I grew up as a kid.
I see Barney Miller a little bit.
Yeah, Barney Miller was all I remember.
I know him spin-off called Fish too.
I used to watch that too, where he was a cop and he was like a foster parent, and he adopted 1970s.
I was Googling him, and I don't even remember this. Apparently, a big shtick with the Fish character is he had hemorrhoids, which is pretty weird.
Yeah, you couldn't sit. I don't know if I
get
remember
a special like hemorrhoid pillow donut thing.
Yeah, and I don't remember if I'm mixing him up with Archie Bunker, but how Archie Bunker used to know if somebody sat in his seat. I remember Fish had hemorrhoids, and his whole thing was like you weren't allowed to sit in his seat. But I could be misremembering him with Archie Bunker. I remember the show, in the 1970s, where it was a psyop kind of thing, where every we're talking about it's nothing new. This sort of like woke shit. It existed in the past, but they didn't try to cancel
they didn't go crazy with it until the last few years. I mean, it sort of gradually grew. Yeah,
you had these weird shows like Maude and even MASH. Like MASH was constantly left wing shit. Yeah. They were shitting on the military because obviously it's something that was born the MASH.
Eureka says sponsored by Preparation H.
Yeah. And I think if I'm remembering, Fish was it was him and his wife, and they didn't have any kids, so they were foster parents to like a huge Brady Bunch worth of interracial kids. You had the black kid, you had the Asian kid, you had a lot of orphan kids, they were all getting into shenanigans or some shit like that. But I don't remember.
He adopted the Little Rascals or something.